This Sportz Blitz podcast is brought to you by LMG. Grow your business through logo design, paper products, and video production. Visit leemarketing.net to learn more.
Glad you're here. So anyway, Andy.
I was going to say, you just saw him.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He was just on the
how
show.
hard was that? I'm
glad to be anywhere.
Exactly. I botched that about as bad as Brett Billman did a offensive play call. So, but anyway, maybe he'll botch a few more. But Andy, not much of a contest for Auburn Saturday. I guess the biggest news coming out of the game was Nick Marshall's shoulder. Coach Malzahn said he's going to evaluate that every day this week, but I expect him to play.
Oh, yeah, I think he will. That seems to be the – I heard Chad Slate say today that he's okay. The offensive line fully expects him to play, and, I think it's always, a good sign when his teammates are fully behind him. And, this is the problem, though, that you run into when you have – a quarterback that runs the read option and does it really well. We talked about on Sports Call today, it's one thing for a 250-pound man to do it. It's quite another for a 190-pound man to do it. So you run into injuries, in the season. They're inevitable, especially if he's taking hits. Now, obviously, this one was kind of strange in the fact that he hurt himself delivering a hit. So I guess it's a good problem to have to kind of back the kid off from being physical. But it's good to have a good backup quarterback because more than likely they're going to see some playing time.
Well, Andy, Nick Marshall's got to lose that safety mentality, and at Georgia he was a safety before he went to junior college and played quarterback, but he's still got that safety in him. So I think he kind of flashed back to a situation where he thought he could deliver a hit, and he did, and it ended up costing him a little bit there. But got to learn to just go on out of bounds when he can and not jeopardize himself and jeopardize the team's opportunities. But Nick Marshall was having a great game. Corey Grant had a great game, as you see here if you're watching on TV. When he gets the corner, it is absolutely over. Explosive speed. Auburn's got several weapons on this offense, and then they bring Jeremy Johnson in, and he does this right here and just calmly takes it and throws it 45 yards down the field, effortless, to Sammy Coates for a touchdown. And we're starting to hear that a lot, and we're going to continue to hear that a lot.
Yeah, that Auburn has certainly, really developed their running game this year and have gotten better and better as the year has gone along. In the 2 out-of-conference games, 2 out of the 3, they had 933 yards rushing. I was a little surprised at the game plan when they came in the way they did. I thought they might, try to throw the ball a little bit more, but it appears that, this coaching staff and Gus Malzahn says this is who we are. We're going to try to run the ball, and we're just working on our running game because we're going to try to do this against everybody that we play for the rest of the year. Now, I don't think Auburn's going to run for 400 yards, on Tennessee and Arkansas and Georgia, and certainly not Alabama, but that's going to be the game plan. That's going to be the game plan. Auburn is a running football team, and it was Marshall goes out and they bring in Johnson, and you think, well, of course, we'll run it here, but they have full confidence. He drops back. Coates has got blazing speed, and he hits him completely in stride. And it seems like, 5 times out of 6, every throw that Jeremy Johnson makes, it hits guys in the hands or right in between the numbers. And that's something that we haven't seen from Nick Marshall. So you're seeing 2 different kind of offenses when each of them's in the game.
Got Andy Graham on the phone here on the Dane Sharp Attorney at Law hotline here in the Auburn Blitz segment of our show, also sponsored by Dane Sharp Attorney at Law. And Andy, will shift our focus to this coming Saturday, 5 o'clock on ESPN2. The kickoff's also been set for Tennessee the next week. It's an 11 o'clock game. Auburn has not played an 11 o'clock game yet, so there's our 11 o'clock game. So, one thing that we're looking at coming up the next 2 weeks, we're on the road. I know Arkansas and Tennessee aren't as good as they have been in the past. It's a great time to go on the road and play those 2 teams. Arkansas first. I don't see why Auburn can't rush for a lot of yards. I know maybe not 400, but definitely 250 to 300 because that is their game plan, and that's where most of their offense comes from. And this is a weak Arkansas team that Brett Billman's tried to build up and tried to get some things stirred up with his mouth a little bit. We talked about earlier today, but I think in the end, if Auburn goes up there and takes care of the football, We've had a lot of predictions on the show tonight, and most of them are lopsided, 52-7, 45-17, those types of scores.
Well, I've been down this road too many times with Arkansas. Every time I think Auburn should blow out the Hogs, they seem to struggle, and that's the last thing Auburn needs to do. You don't want to give a team at home that's struggling a reason to believe. So Auburn did not fare well on the road, their first road game, but it was a monsoon, so I kind of throw that out. But they came out on their next road game against A&M and really.
Well,
They really disappeared.
They really disappeared in thin air, and we lost Andy there. And
I got it. I'm back.
okay, all right, all right, Andy, we'll continue.
Sorry about that.
Continue on, okay?
Well, where was I?
It was 2
Talking
seconds ago.
talking about going on the road.
Okay, going on the road. Okay, yeah, and that's the big challenge for Auburn to go to Arkansas and get off to a good start. And like you said, this is not a top-notch Arkansas defense. So Auburn should be able to run the ball, but they're going to put 8 men in the box and try to dare Auburn to beat them through the air. So Nick Marshall's going to have to throw the ball some and use Sammy Coates as that deep threat, use Marcus Davis as that slot receiver, and hopefully get C.J. Uzomah involved across the middle. You saw him run some really good routes this past week, and he's just too big of a talent to not be involved in the game plan.
Andy, before I let you go, again, not to try to look ahead, and you don't want to look ahead, but one thing that you got to look at is if Auburn takes care of business in the next 2 weeks, we'll go into the Georgia game with a 9-1 record. And I mean, this season is really shaping up to be something I don't think any of us really saw this soon. But Gus Malzahn, you can tell, naturally mixed with this team. These were the guys that he recruited to be there in this system, and you can tell it works.
Oh yeah, it's hard not to look ahead, and I'm fighting it really, really, really bad not to look ahead. But the possibilities, were unfathomable when this season started. To find ourselves here at 7-1 and with a realistic, chance, certainly to be 9-1 when Georgia comes to town, and Auburn should be favored against Tennessee. It's difficult to say what the line will be with the Georgia, depending on if Gurley's back and like that. But it really, I know that gets tossed around a lot, but this is a, building up to be a magical season, and it really kind of goes beyond words to think about where we were last year and what Coach Malzahn and that staff has been able to, just for the fact of instilling confidence into the players and building them back up from where they were, because that was the most depressing thing. I was watching that Iron Bowl last year. That was the most depressing thing I've ever seen.
You watched?
Because they just quit, and that's hard to come back from. And I don't think you can. I don't think you can laud Gus Malzahn and what he's done too much at this point.
Well, I think it says a lot about how poor the previous coaching staff did outside of the 2010 season. But it's going to be fun. Looking forward to Saturday and looking forward to Friday back on Sports Call with you, Andy. Some interesting games coming down the stretch for these Auburn Tigers. Could, like you said, truly be a magical season. And I'll tell you, that Florida-Georgia game is interesting this weekend. If Florida somehow wins that game, Georgia's only a 2.5-point favorite. You may say a Georgia team, it may fold up. So a lot of these games will play a big part in how Auburn may be able to play coming down the stretch. But, Andy, appreciate you being part of the program. We'll see you on Friday.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's Andy Graham with Auburn Blitz segment here, sponsored by Dane Sharp, attorney at law. Also, my co-host with Randy on Sports Call on Tuesdays and Fridays right here on 93.9 in Montgomery. Also, 90. And again, we want people to call in to Sports Call, even Alabama fans. Luke calls in, but it's a Auburn pretty much biased show, to be honest with you. And Sports Call's been around for a long time. But again, we want to thank everybody down in the Auburn-Opelika area for allowing us to be on that program and being part of that program. Now, we're up against a break. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live presented by JR's and SNS Tire right after this.